Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Gospel in 40 Days for Lent. I'm your host, Kennedy Hall. Today we're going to be reading chapters 15 and 16 of the Gospel of Luke. Now, before we continue, as a gentle reminder, I am going to Italy this fall for a once-in-a-lifetime pilgrimage with Father Albert Callio, a traditional Dominican. A traditional Dominican who can find one. Well, we found one. If you'd like to attend this trip, it is obviously no trip to Europe is inexpensive, but as far as trips to Europe that are guided with, all the trappings of a great Catholic pilgrimage, it is a very reasonable price, and families are welcome. So if you'd like to check that out, click the link in the description box for this podcast, or if you're watching it on YouTube. Also, if you do like the music you hear at the beginning and end, you can purchase that album with sacred music on it. It supports the proliferation of sacred music here in Canada, something sorely needed. If you do want to support Our Lady of Mount Carmel Academy, which is the only traditional Catholic boarding school in Canada, you can do so by throwing them a few shekels. By the link in the description, there's a donate option there. Lastly, if you would like to receive premium benefits as paid subscribers through my Substack or through my YouTube memberships, you can click those links as well. It does help to support me continue this work, which is helpful because this is an act of love for the church, but obviously, there are bills to pay and so on and so forth, so every little bit helps. All right, let's get into it. Luke chapter 15. Now the publicans and sinners drew near unto him to hear him. And the Pharisees and the scribes murmured, saying, This man receiveth sinners, and eateth with them. And he spoke to them this parable, saying, What man of you that hath 100 sheep, and if he shall lose one of them, doth he not leave the 99 in the desert, and go after that which was lost, until he find it? And when he hath found it, lay it upon his shoulders, rejoicing. And coming home, call together his friends and neighbors, saying to them, Rejoice with me, because I have found my sheep that was lost. I say to you, that even so there shall be joy in heaven upon one sinner that doth penance, more than upon 99 just, who need not penance. Or what woman having 10 groats, if she lose one groat, doth not light a candle and sweep the house, and seek diligently until she find it? And when she hath found it, call together her friends and neighbors, saying, Rejoice with me, because I have found the groat which I had lost. So I say to you, there shall be joy before the angels of God upon one sinner doing penance. And he said, A certain man had 2 sons. And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of substance that falleth to me. And he divided unto them his substance. And not many days after, the younger son, gathering all together, went abroad into a far country, and there wasted his substance, living riotously. And after he had spent all, there came a mighty famine in that country, and he began to be in want. And he went and cleaved to one of the citizens of that country, and he sent him into his farm to feed swine. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husks the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. And returning to himself, he said, How many hired servants in my father's house abound with bread, and I here perish with hunger? I will arise, and will go to my father, and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven, and before thee. I am not worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. And rising up he came to his father. And when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him, and was moved with compassion, and running to him fell upon his neck, and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven, and before thee. I am not now worthy to be called thy son. And the father said to his servants, Bring forth quickly the first robe, and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand, and shoes on his feet. And bring hither the fatted calf, and kill it, and let us eat and make merry. Because this my son was dead, and is come to life again, was lost, and is found. And they began to be merry. Now his elder son was in the field, and when he came and drew nigh to the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said to him, Thy brother is come, and thy father hath killed the fatted calf, because he hath received him safe. And he was angry, and would not go in. His father therefore coming out began to entreat him. And he answering said to his father, Behold, for so many years do I serve thee, and I have never transgressed thy commandment, and yet thou hast never given me a kid to make merry with my friends. But as soon as thy son is come, who hath devoured his substance with harlots, thou hast killed for him the fatted calf. But he said to him, Son, thou art always with me, and all I have is thine. But it was fit that we should make merry and be glad, for this thy brother was dead, and is come to life again. He was lost, and is found. Chapter 16. And he said to his disciples, There was a certain rich man who had a steward, and the same was accused unto him that he had wasted his goods. And he called him, and said to him, How is it that I hear this of thee? Give an account of thy stewardship, for now thou canst be steward no longer. And the steward said within himself, What shall I do, because my Lord taketh away from me the stewardship? To dig I am not able, to beg I am ashamed. I know what I will do, that when I shall be removed from the stewardship, they may receive me into their houses. Therefore calling together every one of his Lord's debtors, he said to the first, How much dost thou owe my Lord? But he said, 100 barrels of oil. And he said to him, Take thy bill and sit down quickly, and write 50. Then he said to another, And how much dost thou owe? Who said, 100 quarters of wheat. He said to him, Take thy bill and write 80. And the Lord commended the unjust steward, forasmuch as he had done wisely, for the children of this world are wiser in their generation than the children of light. And I say to you, Make unto you friends of the mammon of iniquity, that when you shall fail, they may receive you into everlasting dwellings. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in that which is greater. And he that is unjust in that which is little is unjust also in that which is greater. If then you have not been faithful in the unjust mammon, who will trust you with that which is the true? And if you have not been faithful in that which is another's, who will give you that which is your own? No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. Now the Pharisees, who were covetous, heard all these things, and they derided him. And he said to them, You are they who justify yourselves before men, but God knoweth your hearts, for that which is high to men is an abomination before God. The law and the prophets were until John. From that time the kingdom of God is preached, and everyone useth violence towards it. And it is easier for heaven and earth to pass than one tittle of the law to fall. Every one that putteth away his wife and marrieth another committeth adultery, and he that marrieth her that is put away from her husband committeth adultery. There was a certain rich man, who was clothed in purple and fine linen, and feasted sumptuously every day. And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, who lay at his gate, full of sores, desiring to be filled with the crumbs that fell from the rich man's table. And no one did give him. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. And it came to pass that the beggar died, and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. And the rich man also died, and he was buried in hell. And lifting up his eyes, when he was in torments, he saw Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom. And he cried, and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus, that he may dip the tip of his finger in water, to cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. And Abraham said to him, Son, remember that thou didst receive good things in thy lifetime, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted, and thou art tormented. And besides all this, between us and you, there is fixed a great chaos, so that they who would pass from hence to you cannot, nor from thence come hither. And he said, Then, Father, I beseech thee, that thou wouldst send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brethren, that he may testify unto them, lest they also come into this place of torments. And Abraham said to him, They have Moses and the prophets. Let them hear them." But he said, "No, Father Abraham, but if one went to them from the dead, they will do penance." And he said to him, "If they hear not Moses and the prophets, neither will they believe, if one rise again from the dead." This concludes another edition of the Gospel in 40 Days. I will see you tomorrow.